Welcome to the Soul Body Wholeness Podcast.
Each episode is a living, breathing transmission. Together, we will explore deep, nuanced, and controversial topics of the soul. Welcome to your community of sensitive seekers and deep feelers.
Welcome back, Goldsbrand.
All right, welcome to the show. Today is going to be a solo podcast episode, and I'm so excited about that. I'm going to offer a really deep dive explanation of a huge component of my work. And I'm going to talk about how I got into it, how it has supported me and initiated me deeply into my body and deeply into my soul frequency. I'm going to talk about how I utilize it with clients so that they can experience massive breakthroughs, deep restorative rest and regulation, and so they can live their greatest lives with their passions and their true soul purpose. So let's back up for a moment to give this work some context, give a little bit of a backstory of how I got into this. So I originally got into the healing arts and the realms of the body through fitness and diet. It was actually my entrance into all of spirituality was diet and fitness. And I had experienced a massive breakdown in my life, a marriage coming apart at a really young age. And I was faced with this choice point of taking my life back into my own hands. And this really inspired me to explore fitness and then nutrition, both of which taught me so much about taking my health and happiness back into my own hands and to stop being such a victim to life. Fast forward to not that long later, and I eventually realized that diet and nutrition couldn't heal all my problems. And I really wanted to feel better. I had a lifetime of mental health struggles, physical struggles, health issues, digestion, depression, anxiety, and just huge existential funk, massive sensitivities that would just make me really uncomfortable in my body. So I eventually had to explore other options such as emotional regulation, compassionate communication, nature connection, and just so many more holistic ways of looking at health and happiness. And I did that for a number of years. And while they all supported me in my growth and my development in beautiful and profound ways, there was still this existential void that I was tracking the whole time and to some degree avoiding the whole time for many years. And now I'm not going to go into my whole story since I've talked about it many times on this podcast and other podcasts, but essentially I was being guided into deeper dimensions within myself. I didn't exactly know it, but I was being guided into connecting with my soul purpose and the visions and the gifts and the giveaways that I was born to discover and express and serve. And like I said, I didn't know it exactly at the time. I just felt this angst. And on my way to those deeper dimensions of my truth, I explored a lot of offerings within, as I said, the more holistic realms. I became more holistic as a personal trainer, really trying to understand the role of emotions and our posture and corrective stretching and exercise and a little bit of qigong. And I explored meditation and nervous system regulation. I explored embodiment and somatics instead of just focusing on fitness. Like, what does it mean to be in the body? I really wanted to support people with the actual problems they were coming in with and not just band-aid their problems with the fitness and the diet like I had done for so long. But I still wasn't getting to my core soul essence yet. And as such, I wasn't finding satisfaction or success in the holistic personal trainer realms. And honestly, I wasn't helping people that deeply because I hadn't gotten to those deeper dimensions of myself. Fast forward a few years, I had another initiatory relationship come to an end. Identification patterns as I had come to know myself come to an end. They all just started to dissolve, and it was super uncomfortable. And I again experienced another existential crisis. And I again listened to the guidance of my soul, which this time asked for a really big initiation. It asked for me to sell my things and to leave behind the personal training business and to wander the great big unknown realms of the planet. And so that was a massive 3-year journey that, again, I talk about on other podcasts, so I'll save the details. But eventually, I found exactly what I set out to find. I experienced a 6-month purpose discovery program that completely changed my life in every arena. It put me in direct alignment, direct contact with the mythopoetic nature of my soul. It helped me to see the vision and the tasks and the mission and the messages for, yeah, the big work that I'm here to do on this planet, as well as it really gave me direct insight to how my essence, my aura, the part of me that doesn't have to do anything, how it has an effect on others. It was able to name and show me these specific qualities that my essence has. And so it really helped me to learn the unique language of my soul. So now I have this really strong and healthy relationship with my soul, and it guides me in health and relationships, business, pretty much everything. If I get quiet and I empty myself and I spend time in nature and I ask really humbly. And I eventually trained with the school where I took the program, the Purpose Guides Institute, to become a certified purpose guide. And I have found tremendous joy and purpose and meaning by guiding others. It's such a massive part of what my soul came here to do. And the other thing that has happened as a result of this 3-year soul initiation is that the right teachers and healing modalities and programs just started to show up. I didn't have to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks and just guessing. The ones that were really right for me and my path and my specific gifts were just coming to me. And one of those is what we're going to talk about today. So way back when I was a holistic personal trainer living in Asheville, North Carolina, I started seeing this husband and wife team of network care chiropractors named Brian and Chelsea Raylum. They would have this room, this big room set up with several tables and a bunch of clients lying down on them. And they would just be going from person to person, putting very little physical touch on their bodies, but very clearly doing some type of energy work with them. And their bodies would just go into these spontaneous movements, these big contractions and expansions and wave-like movements and tremors and shaking. And people would be making all kinds of noises and having these big emotional releases. And it was super unusual for me to see that. It was just wild. And I saw them and I received sessions from them for about a year, and it was super powerful. It was just opening things in my life and drawing me so deep into my spiritual path. And so I felt really called to just be connected with them more. And I asked them if, they needed help. And so I eventually ended up working for them, and I helped them through a really big transition time for them. And during that time, I got to see a little bit on the inside of how Brian and Chelsea Ray had ventured really far from network care chiropractor, and they were on their own trajectory. They were developing this methodology that was completely unique to them. And so I got to see how that was starting to blossom, and I got to support them with running some retreats for some very powerful leaders and entrepreneurs. So I really got an insider experience on just seeing their gifts and magic and frequency. And it was entraining me into a whole new octave of reality that I didn't know existed. So fast forward a little bit, I eventually left because I was leaving to become a nomad. I was having my existential crisis and I was going to travel the world. And so I didn't ever think about them again for several years. And fast forward to nearly 2 years ago now, I was coming deep into a lot of dimensions of my soul gifts. especially as a space holder and really a channel, like opening myself as a channel and training to become a purpose guide. And so during that time, I received this email from Brian and Chelsea Ray, and their brand and methodology at this point is called Genius Frequency. So I received this email from them talking about how, for the first time, Genius Frequency is offering a facilitators training to become um, a guide or a facilitator in their work. And my soul totally lit up. It knew instantly. It was the first email I even remember ever seeing from them. It was in my promotions mailbox, and I almost never look at my promotions. And so I always pay attention to these types of synchronicities. And my mind, of course, was coming up with all these reasons why it was the wrong time. I didn't have enough money. I didn't need another certification, blah, blah, blah. But my soul really knew. And at this point, I had developed enough of a healthy relationship with my soul. I knew how to listen to it and trust it. So I knew what I needed to do. And I signed up. And it has been the most profound, life-changing modality that I have ever found. I'm talking quantum leaps and bounds in my growth, in my evolution, versus all these years I had just been trucking along in these small, incremental, linear progress, growth oriented way that I was just doing life. As part of the facilitators training and as part of my daily life ever since, I have facilitated myself over the course of many, many hours. I've facilitated myself a lot. It feels like one of the core pillars of my life, of how I'm supposed to do and be in my life. It has reconfigured, restructured, and really realigned my inner environment in such a way that feels the most natural to me. And as a result, my outer environment feels way more in resonance with pretty much each passing month. It just keeps aligning more and more and more. As I spoke to before, the right teachers, the right modalities, programs, coaches, business decisions, all of that just keeps coming into deeper and deeper resonance, really at faster and faster speeds. So if you're with me this far, you might be asking, well, what is this magical, mystical modality? It's one of the core methodologies that makes up Genius Frequency Methodologies, and it's called Elemental Embodiment Exploration, or EEE, as I'll refer to it often. So let's give a brief overview and background for Genius Frequency. So Brian Lum, was a network care chiropractor for several decades. He was a very prominent figure for them. He was one of their main instructors, and he was Tony Robbins' personal chiropractor for about 8 years. And I've heard Brian tell bits and pieces of this story over the years, so I'm going to do my best not to butcher it. But essentially, because he was so driven to be successful and to do his deepest Dharma work, he wanted to improve network care. He saw that there were some flaws in it. He saw that it worked super well for some people, but not everyone. He became obsessed with understanding, well, why not everyone? And through that process of struggle and experimentation, alongside with his wife, Chelsea Ray, and through studying and receiving initiations from their main spiritual teacher, Malidoma Somé, and learning more through the West African spiritual tradition of the Dagar. So that's where Malidoma Somé comes from. He was one of the most prominent teachers in the Dagar tradition who came to the West and taught Western people. Through all of that and some other stuff we'll get into, Genius Frequency was birthed, and it has grown and developed over the past several years. And through that experience, Brian had a lot of awakening experiences. He was able to connect with his ancestors, and he was guided in each piece of this methodology. It was really birthed through him as a channel. So it essentially combines the elemental cosmology and wisdom from the Dagar tradition, this West African indigenous community, and it combines that with sidereal astrology. So your exact birth info is used for it, and it's all put together with network care chiropractic. And the fundamental pillars of what makes up Genius Frequency are in complete resonance with all of the underworld soul initiation work that I had done and been trained in and initiated in, it was all so perfect. Your genius frequency is your unique connection to spirit expressed through your body as a vibrational tone of sound and light. It's your soul. It's the fractal expression of all that is, or God, or universe, or spirit, whatever word you want to use for it. But it's essentially you at your deepest level of beingness, expressing and serving in your most authentic way. So you have a genius frequency. Everyone does. There's just a whole number of initiations we must go through to access that. And the first one is finding the safety and belonging in our own bodies on this planet. So your genius frequency becomes distorted or muted or suppressed by all of the layers of personal and collective trauma from this lifetime and many others, and from our lineage, our ancestry, everything we experience when we incarnate as humans. And this results in stuck energy in our bodies and an infinite number of protection and coping mechanisms. And all of that results in dis-ease. And this results in symptoms that our culture tragically pathologizes and attacks. It labels it as the enemy to overcome, to destroy, to kill. That's a bit of a problem. These symptoms that either show up in the body as discomfort, pain, injury, or illness, or they show up in your life circumstances that feel uncomfortable at best or violent and tragic at worst, are all brilliant and intelligent parts of a loving universe that is attempting to get your attention. It's attempting to draw your attention inwards towards these core places where energy got trapped during moments of trauma. And this perfect intelligence knows that you need access to this trapped energy to activate and access your intensity so that you can utilize this energy and intensity to fulfill your dharma, to express your genius frequency, to enact your soul purpose in a distorted world where you will need a lot of energy and intensity that's driven and focused and put to perfect use by the intelligence of your soul. Okay, that's a very high level and still very brief overview of what we're working with. So let's just take a breath into all of that. So the methodology I currently work with myself and with clients virtually, again, is called Elemental Embodiment Exploration. It's the foundational methodology for alignment with an expression of one's genius frequency. It activates and draws upon the wisdom of your unique elements and your unique energy field. And so there's this collective code of how these elements are structured and expressed that we all share. And there is an individual code of how these elements are structured and expressed that each one of us contain that is unique to us. So getting this aligned is what aligns you with your unique genius frequency or your soul blueprint. And what's great is that I can facilitate groups in this modality by working with the collective code. And I can support individuals to go very deep by working with their individual code. Again, we utilize your birth chart information from sidereal astrology to access your individual code of elements. There is a massive cosmos of how all of this works that I'm not going to get into. That's the insider information for facilitators to learn and work with. So if you want to go deeper with that, check out geniusfrequency.com to see about their next facilitators program. I'll have a link in the show notes. They also have at-home embodiment trainings you can do without being a facilitator, which are really powerful. Okay, so now that we've covered the overview and the background context, let's get into what exactly happens during these sessions and what makes it different from other embodiment and healing modalities. So Brian and Chelsea Ray like to say that EEE is like breath work plus body work plus energy work, but without the work. So EEE encapsulates so much and offers so many benefits, but with way less time and work and effort. It offers the benefits of so many other modalities, but it's extremely unique and not very much like any of them. I'm going to do my best to keep it as tangible and practical as my mystical, multidimensional brain will let me. So let's go over what a typical session can look like. We start with a little check in, and I'm asking very particular questions so I know what energies we'll be working with in the session. And check ins get to the point where they can be as short as a couple minutes and be far more efficient than an hour of verbal processing. That's one of the magical aspects of this work. Now, it's not like that for everyone at first. There's this entrainment that happens session by session. And that's not from me forcing someone into a small window for a check in. It actually just naturally starts to happen from doing the embodiment sessions regularly. It repatterns your system to process using all of its multidimensional intelligences instead of just the mental and verbal spheres. And your system just gets better and better at it session by session. See, traditional methods of healing and therapy, such as talk therapy, they reinforce our culture's glorification of the mind and the severance from the body. And this, at best, is just not very effective. And at worst, as we've seen, it creates many extra complex layers of thought patterns to comb through. And it typically adds extra confusion and contraction and unnecessary amounts of energy to the process. Our mental processing systems were not designed to process all of the complexities of our traumas. We're not meant to understand it all at that level. So in EEE, we don't get into much verbal and mental processing. Through a series of breath tests, asking the body for consent and asking the body where it wants to utilize our attention, it guides us into the specific elemental exploration that we'll be working with. And the body processes the trauma at the level of the nervous system, and actually deeper than that, but we won't get into that here. And so it first creates an anchor of safety and resourcing through all of those breath tests. It's anchoring to the parts of the nervous system that actually feel safe in the present moment. And that's guided by where the breath is most natural and abundant without trying to do any type of breath work. We're just allowing breath and we're noticing where it's the most natural, abundant, and easeful. Through that process, it brings to the surface only what's ready to be felt and processed in the present moment. This isn't like a plant medicine ceremony where the plant medicine doesn't really care about titration and anchoring your nervous system to regulation before it plunges you into meeting your deepest shadows and traumas. And this is a highly somatic experience. It's in the body. The past material from your psyche is felt somatically, and it rarely brings up challenging memories or anything that you have to figure out how to process. You're just guided to continue feeling the sensations and all the emotions that arise, and you just move with them. You feel with them. You're guided to just allow your body to move if it naturally moves. And these spontaneous wave-like movements and shakes and tremors and gyrations all begin occurring with regularity without you really getting involved with it. It's just your body processing information and energy and trauma. It's just doing all of it without you getting involved. It's a highly intelligent, effective system for that. And so the other thing we explore is sounds. Sounds are these really critical vibrations that support the emotional processing. And so much of our vocal expression in all of its range and its multidimensionality has been suppressed and really shut down in our culture, which again leads to a lot of the mental and physical diseases. This work supports the unlocking of our voice, the unlocking of our true expression, how our soul wants to communicate and use our voice. And so through these sessions, emotions that haven't been safe to feel are finally liberated. They're processed, they're integrated. And by the end, there is this whole range of experiences that can be had, all the way from gigantic life-changing breakthroughs to subtly feeling a little bit more relaxed in your body. And that piece can often get mistaken for not much happening, but it's actually critically important and not very well understood in our Western culture. So that segues into a big part of what makes this work so powerful and truly integrative is that it works with the principles of breadth and depth. Now, breadth, it's a hard word to say. I'm not saying breath and I'm not saying bread. I'm saying breadth, breadth. It is the width, right? So, breadth in this case is the foundational roots of safety, spaciousness, awareness, and our capacity. And so depth refers to going deep into our psyches, deep into our trauma, some of the darkest places, right? And depth also refers to the deepest truths, both the personal and the spiritual. And many spiritual pursuits only address depth, but depth without breadth overwhelms the system. Depth with breadth is what we call integration. It's how the body can actually integrate deeper levels of intensity, sensation, healing, and the deepest spiritual truths. And so the depth that we're able to actually integrate is directly related to the amount of the breadth that we've built, that we're able to build. The more space and capacity that we create, the deeper that we can safely go. And you actually need to go deep into all of those traumas and the dark places in order to find the depths of your spiritual truths. You can't actually access the deepest spiritual truths without going there. Otherwise, it's not integrated, and we call that spiritual bypass. And so EEE naturally does this. This is how our bodies naturally heal, integrate, mature, and evolve. And EEE is always asking the body to guide the way. So, a quick overview of the embodiment part of the session is that we unwind the trauma and the associated limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck or collapsed or any type of perpetual fight, flight, freeze, chronic set of patterns. Anything that's keeping you feeling stuck, your body unwinds that. And then your body uses that trauma, which is just bound up energy and information, and there's a lot of it, as fuel for your transformation so that you could finally access those higher states of healing, of remembering, of liberation, of clarity, and finally aligned action, which will all allow you to be in more alignment with your truth, with your soul. So we're unwinding, we're transforming, and then we're aligning. And so going back to the sessions, this whole process is only about 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how much your body wants to process. And on the other side of that is typically a lot of clarity on how to move forward with an issue that you brought into the session. And that solution can also look like just doing less and actually showing you there's a big need for rest. It's actually often that in our culture, but there's this real wisdom and guiding light on the other side of your experience. And the brilliance of this work is that it's in training your system, actually helping your system remember how to approach the challenges of your day-to-day life. You begin to release all of the cycles of overthinking, and you begin to rely more and more on all of your superpowers of intuition and feeling. You begin to understand and practice the mastery of decision making by connecting to way more of your inner guidance, way more quickly, way more efficiently. This is how we were meant to be and do life. And eventually, you start seeing how your life is this macrocosmic representation of each one of your sessions without really having to think about it or figure it out. Its mysteries just begin to reveal, and you become massively more efficient at processing your life. So what does all of this mean? And how will this support your life? Well, for me, one of my favorite aspects to explore in this methodology is how deeply spiritual and mystical it is, and how it's been aligning me with all of the deepest mythical parts of my life and myself. But I'll be doing whole episodes about that later. For today, I'm going to try to focus on more of the practical and the tangible benefits. These are what you can expect at first, and then the deeper spirituality of it will reveal itself later. So, firstly, we're not just healing. There is such an emphasis in that in so many of the healing modalities. With EEE, you actually deepen into your wholeness by one, realizing who you are beyond your trauma. Two, by just being way more self resourced and just naturally feeling more safe in your own body. Three, just naturally feeling more trust in yourself and trust in life. Four, naturally loving yourself so much more easily. And five, finally, by bringing your gifts to the world. So all of this just supports you in becoming more and more whole. So that's one benefit. Another benefit is this will unlock and upgrade all of your body's natural healing intelligences. And so this goes way beyond a simple symptom or injury healing faster. You start to understand the intelligence of each of these symptoms. You start to understand the language of your body. And when this happens, well, for one, it doesn't just have to communicate to you through intense pain and illness anymore. You'll start hearing the subtler messages and be able to respond to those needs for rest and particular foods or healing protocols way before you get sick or injured. Your body will just let you know and you'll just listen. And so this will allow you to keep showing up to life for your purpose and your passions without getting sidelined. This will save you literally thousands of dollars and hours on guessing what your body needs, which pill or cleanse or doctor. I can't tell you how much time and money I used to spend guessing what my body needed for years. That is not at all my reality anymore. You just gain so much more body connection and intuition, and you're just guided on what it needs. What a relief, right? And so all of this supports the healing of these mysterious chronic pains and illnesses because it gets you to the root. It takes you on a journey of deeper self understanding and embodiment so your body doesn't have to communicate to you in these strange and intense ways anymore. Another benefit is way more ease in your day to day life, more inherent safety felt in your body, which means more inherent presence felt in your body and your life, and more of this inherent sense of belonging in your body and on this planet in this moment. All of this also means better sleep and better poops. Who doesn't want better sleep and better poops? I can't tell you how bad my chronic insomnia used to be for years. And aligning with my soul frequency definitely cured this. And of course, it supports our digestion and all these other things I've talked about. But the thing is, it supports all dimensions of health because it doesn't treat symptoms. It's just a full on system enhancer. So everything naturally just starts healing and functioning better and more efficiently, more effectively. And so your ability to feel, to listen, to respond, to experience what used to give you so much stress, now you experience with so much more ease and groundedness. You'll experience so much more vitality and passion and energy for life because you liberated it from your trapped emotions and trauma. Now, for a lot of you, this way of living might be totally conceptual. You may have never experienced life from this vantage point before, even as a child. And that's perfectly okay. That's actually quite normal in our culture. It was my experience for many, many years. And so once you embody this way of living that I'm talking about, it is so much better than anything I could have conceived, anything that the mind can come up with as a concept for it. It used to sound good, and that's why I went towards it, but the actual lived experience is really impossible to put into words. Okay, so what else do we got? So once you've unwound a lot of your trauma and your system is operating more in the alignment of your actual genius frequency, you can really start accessing the deepest parts of your gifts and your passions. And then you are just lit up by life. You have a sacred mission and you can't wait to do it. This mission informs so much of how you will utilize your energy. Everything will start to funnel in this direction. And instead of feeling aimless with all of these endless possibilities and choices with how to use your time, how to use your energy, how to use your money, what's right for you just reveals. And you spend your days feeling so fulfilled, so on purpose, and so abundant in your love for life. And it's so abundant that you just want to spread that love and you want to be of greater service. You're not thinking about how to fix and heal yourself anymore. You're like, how can I serve others? Life is so great. I want others to experience how great life is. And as I said before, once you are in alignment internally, then your life starts to mirror that. So, money, business, opportunities, and yes, definitely relationships and sex. All of your relationships, current and new, will evolve into a higher dimension of truth. So that might mean that some are no longer serving and will just naturally fall away. And the ones that are meant to stay and the new ones that you attract will be way more nourishing. They'll be more intimate and deep and playful and fun. And yes, get ready for the best sex of your life. When we heal trauma and conditioning, we unlock our eros and our sensuality. It's a natural part of who we are. And when we're more deeply embodied, we're way more attuned to our partner's needs and desires because we're so attuned to our own needs and desires. And as a result, our communication dramatically improves in clarity, and we just have way more experiences of shared reality, also known as deeper intimacy, and yes, better sex. So, genius frequency and EEE, of course, is for people who want relief from the cycles of the emotional and physical suffering that they've been dealing with for literally lifetimes. And Genius Frequency and EEE are also incredibly powerful for those who are looking to optimize what they already have going. It's an incredibly powerful technology for leaders, healers, visionaries, and entrepreneurs who have already found massive amounts of success or have tried pretty much everything and they're just looking to reach that next level, whether that's with health or their emotions, their spirituality, their finances, their business, their relationships. This will support the optimization of all areas in your life. And so this list is far too long for me to continue talking. So just prepare yourself for more fun, spontaneity, magic, depth, authenticity, and expansion beyond anything you could conceive with your thinking mind. So I think that pretty much sums it up. One thing I will mention is that I utilize EEE in a variety of ways and will refer to it as EEE in most scenarios when I'm guiding groups or offering some of my recorded explorations. But in my one on one sessions, I call it Somatic Alchemy. It's my particular individualized way that I utilize EEE. So that's probably how you'll see it on my website, unless I've changed it by the time you're watching or listening to this. So, yes, that's what it's currently called. And if you're looking to book a private session with me, that's how you'll see it. And I also utilize this work in my private containers that are centered around life coaching and soul purpose initiation. And if that's not quite what you're ready for, I do offer this in a very accessible way with group experiences which you can always buy the recordings to use whenever you'd like. And I'll soon be offering really low cost recorded EE rituals that you can just purchase from my website and do whenever you'd like. So yeah, go to my website if you want to experience any flavor of this work. I offer it in everything that I do. And that's all I got, friends. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. All of the links can be found in the show notes. And yeah, that's it. Love y'all. Thank you for joining me on the Soul Body Wholeness podcast. If you like this episode, you can support the journey by rating and subscribing wherever you listen. I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Soul Body Wholeness for more insights and to stay up to date with my current offerings. And if you feel called to work with me directly, I invite you to visit my website at www.soulbodywholeness.life. I offer somatic alchemy sessions and soul purpose initiation journeys that awaken your inner healer, reconnect you to your innate wholeness, and ignite your soul's deepest purpose. I invite you to carry this resonance with you as you move throughout your day and return anytime you need a reminder of your courage, your wholeness, and your light. Blessings, old friend.